Hey expats and travelers, I'm Kalie with Expats Everywhere, and I'm standing at WOW, a massive and very expensive cultural center here in the north of Portugal. Now, as you know, Josh and I live in Porto with our young daughter. Is this place good for kids? Also, we sit down with Honeymoon Always, and they are here on a romantic getaway. Is it good for that and tourism? Let's go see if it's worth the money.
So guys, what do you all think about WOW as a tourist venue?
I think it's a really good option for people who are looking to understand a little bit more about Portugal. I think we learned a lot, even having lived here for a while. We saw things and learned things that we didn't have context for before. So I thought that was really helpful. And I think it's a really good option for people who are, maybe it's raining in Porto, maybe you're tired of hiking all those hills. So I think there is definitely like a really good time and place for doing WOW.
Yeah, I think that it touches on so many aspects of the Portuguese culture and really goes deeper than most places do. So you like talk about cork or chocolate or wine, all of those things are a huge part of Portuguese culture, and it really touches on all of them and goes deeper than pretty much any other place I've been.
The history of Porto was probably the most informative one to me, where I learned a lot about, I had questions that I had about the history of Porto and how it became what it is. So for me, as someone who lives in Portugal, I took the most out of that exhibit, learning wise. I thought it was really great.
So that's coming from, not living in Porto, coming for tourism. What do you think if you actually live in Porto or Gaia? Is it worth going to?
I think it's absolutely worth going to. I think from a culinary standpoint, it's worth going to. There's a lot of options when it comes to the food, but I also feel like there are so many different experiences that you don't have to rush and try to do them all, because we found out when we were there that the tickets are valid for 6 months. So why not do it why not do one experience each month and most value get the 5 experiences packet, the super savers, right, ticket, and then just be able to every month go, especially for us from Porto. It's not that bad to get to Gaia, but it does feel like you're schlepping over there. Like for us with Sia, we would rather take a car, because once you get off the metro on that side, then with the stroller having to kind of wind your way down, it's just much easier to take a car.
Yep.
Yeah. But that is a good perk if you live there, that you could just get the pack and then go a little bit more leisurely than if you're there for tourism. And if you're only there for, let's just say, a week, it's kind of a lot. If you want to try to do all of them or at least 5 of them, then it's a lot to do. Maybe you kind of go through the experiences too quickly. I would say one thing that I really liked is that some of them felt like museums, but some of them didn't feel like museums. So it's kind of like a mix. So it's not like you're just going to, several museums. Some were a bit more like that with the readings and going through seeing old artifacts, like the vessels. That was a bit more like a museum, I thought.
For sure.
But then some of them, they say they're like experiences, and it is true. It's far less the traditional style of museum. So I like that there's a mix of that, because it kind of keeps you interested in all the different types rather than it just being one way for all of them.
I think because of that, I thought it would be a really great place for families, for kids, people with kids who want to experience Porto, but I have to imagine that going to see all the old buildings is maybe not as engaging hour after hour, long periods of time. So even from a traveling perspective, if I had anyone in my group, young or old, who didn't want to be hiking a ton, it's a great stop. And the food there was really impressive. So to go and have lunch, see one of the museums or 2 of the museums, I think would be a really great thing to fit in your calendar.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the view's really nice too.
Yeah.
So you can have a meal over there with a really good view.
Yeah, I think the view is arguably the best view of Porto,
I think so.
period. Because when you're over on the Gaia side and you're at the bridge where the metro is, overlooking the city, it's pretty. It's really pretty, and it's a spot that a lot of people catch the sunset from. But the angle isn't quite right. When you're on the Gaia side at WOW, it's
panoramic in a way,
it's just
and it's
the perfect frame.
and it's set back a little bit, which kind of gives you a bit more of a view rather than being off to the one side. Yeah.
Okay, going back to the museums or the museum experiences, which ones were your favorites?
So I loved the history of Porto. I loved the Cork Museum. I learned a lot about Cork. You see it everywhere when you go to Sintra, or you go, so it's a big deal in Portugal that I didn't know kind of the history behind and how valuable it is. So that one was really good. What did you think?
I think the chocolate one was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
It's just, I love chocolate, of course, but it's so much more than that, because you're learning about the process from the cocoa bean all the way to the chocolate, and there's a lot of great visuals, and all along the way it's very engaging. So.
Yeah.
I love the little area in the chocolate museum, the factory, whatever, where it was like you were in a forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was blown away by that. I was like, this is real.
And you can walk through that. You know, I feel like some places will have like that as you can look at it, but you can go, be roped off. You're not supposed to go through. Whereas this one, I remember like Sia was collecting like the little things on the leaves and all that stuff that were on the ground. So it's a bit more engaging like that, which is nice. Yeah.
I think we were shocked at the Cork Museum as well, just how engaged Valencia was. Because when you think like, oh, this is an exhibit about
Cork, it sounds really funny.
About tree bark.
Yeah.
Like, how fun could that be?
Yeah.
But it was very tactile.
Yeah.
And there were just a lot of like textures she could play with and things she could do.
Well, like coming from like a tourist perspective, you go to Sintra, you go to any like major tourist destination in Portugal, you're gonna see Cork, and you're kind of like, okay, Cork's a thing.
Yeah.
And then you go to WOW and you go to the Porto Museum and it's like, oh, okay, like that makes sense because you learn so much more about the history of it and the process and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Well, talking about WOW, the name is World of Wine. But do you feel like that was the focus of the cultural district?
No, I mean, there was definitely the Pink Palace, which was if you're into rosé or if you're into kind of fun photo shoot, interactive play areas, that's a cool one for that. And they did talk about the production of wine. I learned a lot about wine production, honestly, but there was definitely way more. I kind of think the name might be a little bit misleading.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought.
And my other thought on that, while we're being critical of naming, is there is a museum called the Bridge Museum.
Oh gosh.
Which,
it's
Porto
about
is
the
a city.
bridges.
Porto, right?
It's obviously about the bridges of Porto,
Yeah.
except it's not. It's about cups that were curated by a guy with the last name Bridge.
That's it.
And I don't know if I missed that in the description somewhere, or because I knew I was going to go to it that I just wasn't being critical, but I feel like people who are like excited to learn about bridges might be disappointed because it's just cups. And I'll be honest, it's actually a very cool museum. Like,
Very cool.
I learned a lot about like drinking culture and stuff that I like had no idea about, but I thought was really interesting. And I think his collection is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought it was done in an engaging way. So it's a good museum.
It's
Nothing
not
to do with
bridges. Yeah, that's the problem.
So I would like to join their like naming committee, see if I can like poke them in a different direction.
Yeah.
Fair
No,
enough.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree that I think that it is quite misleading to call it the world of wine because obviously we know in Porto there's port and there's wine because of the Douro. So you think, oh, this whole place is about wine, and they're missing a bit of an opportunity here because people who maybe aren't interested in wine or don't want to do that are going to be like, oh, well, we don't want to go to this big, establishment with all these experiences because it's about wine, but it's so much more than wine. So
I think that's
confusing.
I'm sorry.
No.
I think that would have been a deterrent for us because we don't really have an interest in wine that much. So for us, it's like it's not that like I'm not going to go and spend money on a thing to learn about wine, or like we don't really do like winery tours or anything like that. So learning that it was more of a cultural experience and then actually getting a lot out of it, including learning about wine, but they did it in an interesting way.
Yeah.
I think that really was of value to us, and I would encourage people, even if they don't have an interest in wine, to look at any of the museums and see if that would be of interest.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think ultimately wine is the common thread. Like it has a connection to all the museums. The Bridge Museum with the cups.
Yeah.
That's where you put your wine.
Yeah,
in, right?
the best ones,
The
yeah.
cork goes in the bottle.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Well, there's actually a wine experience, which is one of the museums, which for me it was too much like other things that I'd done. So I was less interested in that. But wine and chocolate pairs together well.
That's true. So I guess that's what they were going
maybe
for.
the fashion one, it's a little less connected, but you can still make
or
a
the history
connection.
as well. I mean, I guess you can make
No, the
connections
history
as
of
well.
Porto, I mean,
Yeah,
Porto
for sure.
and Portugal. Yeah, they did
Portugal.
talk about that,
Yeah.
but they did talk about history of
Huge
Portugal
industry.
overall as well.
Yeah.
The fashion museum was a miss for me
Oh, was it?
personally.
Okay.
Yeah, we walked through, and I love fashion, and they showed some really good fabrics, but it was I'd be curious what you guys think. To me, it was the least engaging.
It was.
It felt very cold.
Uh-huh.
Like it felt, I was just looking at other people's stuff without a lot of
I
context.
thought you'd be able to touch more too. That was the
Yeah.
other thing. Like some of when it would show like the different fabrics and stuff. I thought like, can we like, are we supposed to like open this? And I didn't think you were. It was kind of,
I felt like it was maybe more to showcase Portuguese designers, but I really didn't learn a lot about Portugal and fabric. There was a little bit, but I I guess I would have expected more. Maybe if you're really into like fabrics and design, that would be for you. But
Yeah.
Well, the most engaging thing I think was the runway kind of at the end.
Well,
that was in the cork museum.
That was in the cork, yeah.
Oh,
that's right, yeah.
That's right.
Which kind of doesn't make too much sense, right?
Makes
Because you
no
would think
sense
that
to
one would be in the fashion.
Yeah.
had a great time on the runway though.
Oh yeah,
That was awesome.
that was
Really?
great, yeah. So that was kind of a little weird. I think the best part for me at the fashion one was when they showed all the different colors of like the threads. Like that was really cool to see. Like just but again, it was like just one little section. But other than that, I can see where that was missed. Okay, well, so they said some stuff that they liked and didn't like, and you haven't answered. What was your favorite or one of your favorites?
It might have to be the cork. But I think it's a little skewed because I just had so much fun watching Valencia have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I will go in a museum and I'll get lost in like my own things and I won't take care of her the way Kalie does. But no, like I had a fun time kind of bringing her to different exhibits and letting her play. So that was really cool. But on a personal note, they were all pretty good. They were all pretty good. For sure. And
then all of them kind of had their own unique things. So one person's probably going to like this and not like this. Because I like the Pink Palace. And I'm not a rosé drinker or anything, but I think it was also very easy with Sia because there were a lot of colors, lots of things for her to kind of get into.
What's your favorite color?
And my favorite color is pink. I will say that. Yeah, my favorite color is pink.
If they had a blue bungalow, I'd be right there.
Blue bungalow. It was fun kind of playing in those
Blue's my
balls,
favorite color.
Yeah. It was fun playing in the different areas, and I mean, for me, I'm the same. I don't need like picture opportunities, but I thought it was really well done in the sense that you kind of get your money's worth because you get to try several different rosés, which was different than like the wine experience. You just get a glass at the end. You do get to do like this, smelling and that part. But for those who don't know much about rosé, I thought it was cool, and then just the colors and the fun of kind of playing around. So I like the Pink Palace. I thought that was fun, but then the cork too. I mean, I'm with you guys. Like, it's unique. You would think, how much can you really learn about cork in a cork museum or cork experience? But they did it really well.
They really did.
Okay, so back into kind of the value of this cultural district of WOW, right? What about the culinary side? You guys like food.
We do.
What did you think about what they did in terms of that?
Well, in Portugal, coming from America, there's things that are different with them.
Yeah.
And I want to embrace Portuguese food and everything like that. But going to WOW, there were some elements that you don't really get in Portugal for a lot of things. For the service, when you go sit down to have a meal, like they're very attentive, and that already is a good impact on your experience.
Yep.
But then the food always very good. Like with our favorite restaurant was the one that there's vegetarian on one side and seafood on the other side, and you can order from either menu.
Yep.
We loved that. The view was great, and
the
food was awesome.
We talked about the view, and the food was so good. So, I mean, for even within Portugal, there's really top-notch restaurants with high quality. And if I lived in Porto, I think we'd make a regular trip there just to eat.
And price-wise, value?
Oh gosh, that was really decent. I mean, for what they could have been charging, it was really reasonable.
I hope they don't get any ideas to bump up.
No, I think it was priced perfectly, where it's a little elevated, but you get an elevated experience,
That's right.
elevated quality, so it made sense.
The other thing is at the end of the chocolate experience, we paid for a chocolate cookie at the end, and it was one of the best chocolate chip cookies, or chocolate cookies in general, American-style cookies in Portugal. I mean, they're harder to come by here, so to have that, that was delicious. So I think they're doing a really good job over there.
So we missed the cookie. And I'm a big cookie fan.
We didn't have a cookie. No, I think we just had a coffee there, but I think you can also do like some mochas and stuff there as well. We just had a normal coffee, but I think, that's a good one.
What do you think? Do you think that we're going to now visit there more often for food or for museum experiences?
I think we'll definitely take family and friends who come and visit because it is like a different experience. So it's something to do. And like you were saying, if there's kids or people who can't walk as much or just want a break or it's raining or something, so there's a lot of options for why you could go there, like to get out of something else, but then also just to go there for the experiences. The food, the view, like we were saying, it's such a good view. And the experiences are fun. So I think that we probably will go back. We'll take people probably for the experiences, but I think we would also go back for the food as well on our own, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Not like once a week or anything, but something that's like, oh yeah, let's, we haven't been over there for a while, let's go do that.
I'd be curious, because you've been to all of the exhibits, and next time, you, like the way that the ticketing system works is you either get 1 or you get 2 or you get 3 or you get 5, and it's not the least expensive thing in the world.
Oh,
I'd be curious if you guys have thoughts on what you would pay for to visit a second time.
Ooh. You know, something I think was a bit tough was when we went through the museum, the bridges with like the vessels and everything. We didn't have as much time to. I mean, it was just packed with information, and so it was like we didn't have enough time to really read a lot. Yeah, take a lot in too. And then that one's a harder one with Sia as well.
That's her alley.
Yeah, that's not really great. Yeah. So that one might be interesting to do a bit more. Like, what I want to pay for it though, I'm almost leaning more towards if I'm going to pay for it, I might as well go to like the chocolate or the Pink Palace, because like those are kind of the fun ones that you get to play with a lot more and you get to try different things.
Yeah.
But I think I would give the bridges one, the vessels, another chance just to be able to learn a bit more.
I did like that one.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, because I'm stingy with money, I think if I didn't have, because we've now visited them all, if I didn't have family or friends coming to visit, then I wouldn't go back. But I will be happy to pay and go back with family and friends and be with them while they experience it, and I'm sure I'll have a blast.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would not have a good time.
So if family's coming and they only want to do 3 or only have time for 3, which ones would you recommend?
100% cork.
Yeah.
And then depending on which family member, I would say either do the chocolate or the wine. Maybe you don't have to do both. You do the chocolate or the wine. And then if there's a history buff in there, you got to go to the Porto history.
100%.
Yeah.
They did such a good job on that museum.
They did. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And that one, for being history, you can still do a lot. You know what I mean? Like there are videos to watch and things to get into and stuff, like the trolley and everything. So there are actually things to do in there.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point as well, like with inclement weather. If you have rain, which it does rain in Porto. It does rain.
If you're there for a week, it's gonna rain.
One day. Yeah, why not?
It's the best place I can't imagine.
Yeah, take shelter for 3-4 hours. Absolutely. You can get a meal there, like you said. The one thing that is befuddling to me is, why is there a pack for 5 museums when there are 7 total museums?
I wondered
That's what I don't. Yeah, we talked about this.
As residents, it's like, why wouldn't you want people that live there just to buy
all
7
packs?
Right.
Since you have 6 months to do it anyway, so it's just like,
Well, and there's plenty of people who would come to visit who would want to not have to prioritize and guess based off of the description which one's going to be of value to them.
or someone who for you guys. Being down in Lisbon, it's fine if you have 6 months because you're just like, okay, I could get all those, and then next we'll make a point to go up in a couple months because it's not that far away, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you could just get all 7 to have them, and then
They
go
don't
them slowly.
even offer it.
That's weird.
Yeah, that is something that's
You
weird.
gotta do like a 5+2. I want that value pack.
Yes.
So would you guys come back up?
I think we're the same boat as you, that we crammed it all into 2 days.
Yeah.
And so had we bought a 5 museum on a 6-pack, or have 6 months, we would go back and do them more leisurely.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you if we had family with us. It's kind of the nature. It's not like the museum changes a lot, although the Bridge Museum, they do change the featured cup like once a month.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
So
Good to know.
you gotta step in there see what's new. But for the most part, a lot of it is fresh information. So it'll be a little while before it will be, again, new and interesting information for me.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it'll be a while before I'm thinking I forgot all that. Let's go try it out again.
Yeah.
But I did think it was cool.
Yeah. And we would go back to eat there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew you were
Yeah.
gonna say that.
Yeah.
I knew it. I was like, when you come back to Porto, you'll hit up
Oh,
Gaia's
for
side.
sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
100%.
Okay, there's one thing we've talked about off camera before
Yeah.
that I just want to mention is that we had different experiences in the Chocolate Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we went to the Chocolate Museum, they say there's going to be a chocolate tasting, and they gave us a little tiny bar, like a 1 piece of Hershey's bar.
Hershey's.
No, that's the size. It's a super size
Okay.
reference.
Super size.
It is not Hershey's chocolate, but that's the little cube thing. And then at the end, we played a claw game. I got one other so there's 2 little small pieces of chocolate, which to me does not a chocolate tasting make.
Yeah.
And I have another friend who went, with her mom a few months ago, had the same experience as us, and she had felt disappointed because it wasn't a chocolate tasting. And she is actually like a dessert blogger. So for her, it was an extra like pain in the gut because she loves dessert and could have blogged about it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you guys actually did get a chocolate tasting.
Oh, we 100% had a chocolate tasting.
So that's what was really weird for us. Yeah.
There's 6 different
Six
chocolates.
different types of chocolate with different levels of cacao.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was. Yeah. And there were, I mean, and you could try, if you wanted to circle back to one, you could.
Yeah.
I mean, she was there, she was explaining the different percentages, and then you could do little comparisons if you wanted. So we did actually have a tasting. That's why I'm like so surprised that, because it's supposed to be part of it. And it's there towards the end before the little claw part that you can get the chocolate where the factory is, and you can look at them, doing things in there. So I thought that was really weird that they didn't have that set up for you guys.
What I'm a little bit gathering, just based off of like the differences in our experience and yours, is that there may be a difference in, or an inconsistency in customer service within the museums themselves, which with some of the more interactive museums can cause some, like a lackluster experience. And so I'm not 100% sure what to make of that. I think we'd thought that maybe they'd expected more traffic in the museums, and so then their staffing was a little different, but that definitely impacted our experience in some of the museums.
I think you're right with that. I think because everything's automated, right? So you just get your little packet and then you go through. Initially, they were expecting a bunch of people, but maybe the time of year that we were at, or just things have been slow. They just weren't staffed there, and they should have been. It's something that like, they should, if it's opening hours, then there should always be someone there, you would think. So it's kind of odd that they wouldn't have that.
I suspect during the summer months,
it'll
be high staff.
Yeah.
That would be great. The other thing I might do, if we were gonna go again, like if we were gonna bring family to go do that again, I would like nail a person down and be like, is there a tasting? Do I get 6 pieces of chocolate? It's not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal.
Or
it's chocolate, it's a big deal.
When you're there, just like find somebody and be like, I want my tasting.
But that is a good point. So now you should have that. So when you go, then you say, hey, we want to do a chocolate experience. But we've been here before and there wasn't something. So is that happening today? Kind of.
Yeah.
So what are you guys going to highlight on your YouTube channel in terms of your experience at WOW?
Well, our biggest takeaway was what we already spoke about, in that it's not like only a wine experience. And like when you tell me like World of Wine, I'm like, okay, maybe we'll see, maybe we won't. But if you would have said like, oh, there's all these, like call it a cultural district, and said with a huge focus on culinary, then I'd be there. And that's really what we experienced. We got great food, chocolate, learning about the wine, learning about the cork, all those things together, and the history of Porto. Because like I found that I've learned a little bit about Portugal here and there, but learning about Portugal there really kind of went deeper into any understanding I had about the history of cork and things like that. Even if you don't like wine at all, it's still a great place to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, this is Dan and Michelle with Honeymoon Always. If you want to check out their video, it's right here. And if you want to see our vlog on how WOW went for us,
and the Pink Palace,
check out that video here. Now, let's get moving.
Bye.